Hi everyone. This will be a quick short video on epideictic speeches. I had assumed that this would be pretty easy for you because the epideictic is so basic compared to what we've been doing in the past. But it seems like you've reverted to kind of your old habits. A lot of you are writing laundry list speeches. You're just kind of picking an object like a relative or a particular event. You're giving a ceremonial speech, but it's just a list of stuff about the person, and you've forgotten all about a narrow specific focus, a central idea statement, and bringing out the theme. In the epideictic speech, it's especially important to think thematically because the reason we teach epideictic speaking is because epideictics are one of the oldest forms of communication. Before there was writing or books or anything like that, there were speeches at different events, funerals, Olympic Games, tribal ceremonies, land breaking. I mean, any of that stuff always had these kinds of ritualistic sort of speeches. And what they do is they're speeches of praise or blame, and they talk about the past. They talk about the present, and most importantly, right, as they're talking about in a particular event. So for instance, as we're breaking ground for the New World Trade Center in New York City, or as we are commemorating Independence Day, or as we're graduating from college, whichever of these things is going on, at the same time that we're celebrating that particular event, we're learning our communal values again. So, that's part of the reason why values are so strange now, because there are so many speeches going on all the time and so much discourse circulating that sometimes you get two different perspectives on the same issue, if not more, and they're always circulating, and so you're always having to sort through, okay, what is it I'm supposed to do? What's expected of me, right? Those expectations aren't streamlined like they used to be. So for this speech, you need to pick not only the object that you're going to celebrate and the occasion that you're going to celebrate, but the value or the theme that you're going to pull out of this object that you can share with the whole audience. Another way of thinking about that is, let's suppose that I want to give a wedding toast for my brother and his fiance. You have no idea who these people are. And so if I stand up here and I say, hey, I'm going to give a speech about my brother and his fiance, here's a bunch of stuff about my brother, here's a bunch of stuff about his fiance, you're going to be really bored because I never make my object your object, right? So now obviously when you do give these particular speeches, in theory, you would actually be at a place where, let's say, everyone would know your brother or his fiance. So I understand why this might be confusing, but you can't ever go wrong by trying to play to a broader audience. So think of another example, like for instance, okay, a good one, Obama's speech at Notre Dame, the Notre Dame graduation, right? So Obama can't just stand up there and celebrate all the accomplishments of Notre Dame graduates, because nobody is going to want to watch that speech. They have nothing to gain from that because it's isolated to just the Notre Dame graduates. So what you need is some kind of bigger idea, right? So here's the situation and the object that you're celebrating, but there has to be a particular idea that comes out that can reach more of a universal audience. So that's when Obama uses the Notre Dame speech to talk about the importance of, actually, I don't remember this speech very well, but he talks about the importance of maintaining kind of like a civil public. So the civil public becomes the theme that comes out of a speech that's theoretically just about graduation. So real quick, I'm going to kind of take you through a speech writing process, show you that really nothing has changed here from previous speeches. It's just a little simpler and shorter. So don't go back to your old habits. You've done a really good job this semester of disciplining yourself and your ideas. Don't lose that. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is to establish the occasion. And the reason that this is so important, right, so you want to do this almost at the beginning of the introduction, is because this tells the audience what their relationship is to the material. So remember how in a persuasive speech we want to tell the audience what we want? what attitude we want them to adopt, what action we want them to take, what belief you want them to believe. This is the same deal, right? We're at this event, we're all here together, what do you want us to do? What's the event? And it's especially important for the audience you have here because they don't really know what's going on. So sure, in a real speech, right, you might be able to stand up and just say, you know, raise a glass and a toast to my brother and his fiance. And the audience would immediately know what to do. But here, since your audience is a bunch of strangers, you have to work harder to get them involved in the scene. But really, it's good practice anyway because you should never take for granted that your audience cares. You always have to build up why they care, what the value is, right? So this is, you know, value, it's incentive, it's all that stuff that's on the assignment description that you need to build for your audience. What is the incentive, even if I'm already at the wedding? Actually, you can't see this. What is the incentive to listen to yet another wedding toast? What is the value of yet another wedding toast? Is this just going to be another, hey, 2 people got married, congratulations, marriage is important, here's a bunch of stuff about my brother and his fiance? Or are you going to build in a value and say something I haven't heard before and make me see marriage in a different kind of light, right? That's what makes a really good speech, something that not only commemorates the occasion but gets me to think. So the first thing you have to do is establish the occasion, and in that process also think about what you're doing for your audience. Okay, and then obviously the second thing you want to do is introduce your object. And by that I mean the thing celebrated. So your brother, a country, an event, a person, a place, a thing, an idea, an invention, whatever it is that you want to celebrate. And you know, the sky's the limit. You can celebrate a restaurant, you can celebrate a particular food that you like, you can celebrate an inventor, a historical figure, you can celebrate a person, a class, a group of people, a nationality. I mean, whatever it is that you feel like celebrating, you know, as long as obviously you stick to the requirements of the occasion. And then the last thing is your value. And this is what comprises your central idea statement. Right? So when it finally gets down for you to say to the audience what the central focus of your speech is, it needs to include your object and your value. And then from there, obviously, you're going to create a preview that distributes your value into 2 to 3 main points, right? Not a laundry list, but breaks down the value. So just as an example, let's say you want to give a speech about, let's say 4th of July is coming up. So you're going to give a 4th of July speech that talks about the value of independence, right? We're here today to celebrate the birth of America, a nation that has shown us the importance of freedom or independence or whatever it is you want to say. I got an object, I got a value, right? And I would want to use my introduction to kind of set that up in the occasion. But then I got my object, America, America's birthday, right, the founding of the nation, and then the value, independence or freedom or liberty. This is a theme that you hear commonly with these particular speeches. Then you got to break it up and figure out, okay, what are my main points? Oh, I dropped my eraser. What are main specific claims that I can make that will lead back to value? Maybe you want to talk about how the founding fathers established the country based on freedom. Maybe you want to tell 3 different stories of different Americans that represent the importance of freedom. Maybe you want to talk about 3 different 4th of July occasions where, you know, freedom was, you know, really, really important. Maybe you want to organize it by color and do something about red, white, and the blue. However you want to break up the value is fine with me. Okay? So to give you a quick example, I'm going to give a short, like, mini pretend speech on peanuts. Just, I guess, okay? So to establish the occasion, I'm going to say, thank you all for coming to this event. This is a birthday party celebrating the birthday of the peanut. You could be funny and say, this is Mr. Planter's 50th birthday, or you can come up with anything like that if that's, if that strikes your fancy. And then you want to explain the value for the audience, right? The incentive to the audience. It's just, it's just a brief audience connection. Thank you all for coming. It means so much to me that you've joined me to celebrate Mr. Peanut's 50th birthday. We're all fans of Peanuts. Peanuts have given us a lot over the years, and it's time that we sat down and, took a moment to recognize all that Peanuts have done for us, because it's something we don't often think about. So there, now you've told the audience what you want them to do. You want you to join them in praising the peanut. So it's very clear you want to praise the values of the peanut, all right? So now you have to obviously make sure that you introduce the object, which you've already done, and now be very specific about your value. And then this is so obviously where your central idea statement is going to come in. And your central idea statement, as we discussed, is always a value plus the object. So I'm going to say something like, today, as we praise Mr. Peanut on his birthday, we should thank Mr. Peanut or the Peanut for showing us that little things do come in small packages, right? So that's my thesis statement. The little things do come in small packages. Now that thesis statement's a little bit confusing, so you might want to say another sentence. So like, in other words, little things come in small packages, which means that simplicity is best. So there's your value, simplicity, right? Things don't need to be showy, they don't need to be fancy or flashy to be important. Simplicity is best. Little things come in small packages. So you would want to kind of tease that out in your thesis statement. And then you want to make sure you have a preview. So our value is simplicity. We're going to show it through the peanut, and now we have to decide our main points. So don't forget your organizational patterns. Topical, spatial, whatever it is that you want to choose, right? Think about what you can possibly do. Make sure it fits the thesis. So in this case, for instance, since my value is simplicity, I might talk about the fact that the peanut is very powerful, but also plain, right? And I might also talk about how the peanut is both delicious and unassuming. So my first main point might be, first of all, the peanut shows us that just because you're plain and ordinary doesn't mean that you're not powerful, right? Plain and ordinary echo the language of simplicity, but we're talking specifically about how, so we said good things come in small packages. Good things is very broad. Small packages is very broad. We've narrowed that down to simplicity. Now we want to show that good things come in small packages. So we picked two good things, powerful and delicious, and we're going to show evidence that the peanut is both powerful and plain, as well as delicious and unassuming. Because unassuming reminds us of simplicity, but then we also show how even though things are simple, right? Unassuming and plain is simple. You have the powerful and the delicious. And now it's real simple. Right? A and B. What are my evidence? Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. First is an example of how peanuts are powerful but plain. Let me tell you about peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then give some details, right? Peanut butter and jelly sandwich, not the fanciest sandwich. Throw a little peanut butter on some old white bread, wrap that bad boy up, stick it in your purse. Don't even think about it. It's not fancy. It's not caviar. It's not a Panera sandwich with all the highfalutin to-dos. But when you hit your mid-morning crash or your afternoon crash at a business meeting, you pull out that peanut butter sandwich and you eat it, and you're going to feel okay, right? Simple, not very exciting, but powerful, right? And reiterate to the audience, connect. How many times have you been somewhere and thought, man, if I only had a good half of a peanut butter sandwich right now that I could eat? Okay. And then you'd want to pick another base, maybe an analogy to something else. For instance, I'm trying to think of something that's powerful with playing. Oh, like an old wooden chair, right? You go to your grandpa's house, there's an old wooden chair sitting in the corner, it's been there forever, nobody really notices it, but it's a sturdy wooden chair, it's lasted forever, lots of memories were made in that chair, it's your most favorite chair in the house, it's comfortable, it's familiar, right? So that might be your analogy. You might compare the peanut to the wooden chair.